Okay. It is Friday, January 23rd, 2026. And I think we should just dispense with the usual pleasantries.
There's really no time for them.
No. If you're listening to this, you likely already feel it. Something fundamental has shifted under our feet.
The official story you're getting,
Yeah.
on the legacy networks, in the financial press, they're calling it a recession.
Or heightened geopolitical tension.
Right? It's comfortable language, it's
Right.
noise. The math says something completely different. The math calls this a structural rupture.
A structural rupture.
As of today, the world you think you live in, the one with, international law and the UN and supply chains that just work, it's already gone.
This is neural pulse. Let's analyze.
We've moved beyond polycrisis.
Yeah.
That was the buzzword for 2024, 2025. It was a sort of tidy way of saying everything is a mess.
Right.
This is different. This is the liquidation phase.
Yeah.
Let's start with the money, because that's where the illusion is breaking the fastest.
Let's look at the evidence. The first data point, and this one points to domestic rot, is the collapse of Saks Global. On January 13th, they filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy.
And on the surface, that sounds like just another retailer failing.
We've seen it before. Bed Bath & Beyond, the malls dying a slow death.
But this isn't that. This is a systemic failure of the entire debt-driven growth model.
When you look at the filings,
Right.
the numbers are just terrifying. We're talking about potential liabilities anywhere from $10 billion to $100 billion.
Think about what Saks was. It was the merger of Saks Fifth Avenue and Neiman Marcus,
Right.
financed with $3.4 billion in debt. It was supposed to be the Amazon-proof fortress of luxury.
The thinking was that the ultra-rich are just immune to economic gravity.
So you leverage the company to the moon. Instead, it was a suicide pact.
Yeah.
And the victims, they're not just the banks.
No, it's the brands themselves. The court documents, they show Saks owes Chanel $136 million.
$136 million.
They owe Kering, that's Gucci's parent company, $60 million. LVMH is owed $26 million. And these, they're unsecured claims.
Let's just pause on that. Chanel is a fortress. They'll survive a hit like that, but they will absolutely pull back. But what about the hundreds of smaller designers?
The independent labels.
They're already dead. If the top of the food chain isn't getting paid, the little guys are ghosts. This exposes the credit trap.
And there's a specific detail in the report. They call it the $10 million paradox.
Go on.
Management was writing checks to vendors, knowing they were insolvent. They were using their accounts payable, what they owed people, as operating cash.
It's the behavior of a drowning man, burning the furniture to heat the house. But here's the takeaway. Saks thought the banks would save them. The banks thought the Fed would save them.
And no one came?
No one. The machinery behind all that glamour is rusted shut. And while that's happening to corporate credit, look at what's happening to consumer credit.
This is the second pincer in the movement. We have to talk about financial populism. Donald Trump, coming out of Davos, has just proposed a temporary cap on all credit card interest rates.
Slashing them from what, an average of 22%?
Down to 10%.
It's a brilliant populist move. To the average person, it sounds like a lifeline. Save us from the greedy banks, right?
Exactly. But the reaction from the banking sector was, well, it was immediate panic. Jamie Dimon at JP Morgan came out and warned that if you cap rates at 10%, you effectively remove credit access for 80% of Americans.
Of course. The banks just won't lend. They can't price in the risk. They'll just turn off the tap.
And there it is, the pincer movement.
Yes. You have corporate credit collapsing at the high end with Saks, and consumer credit is being suffocated by populism at the low end.
That safety net of living on credit, which is how the middle class has survived the last decade of inflation.
It's being cut. So what happens when you can't put groceries on the Visa because your line was cut? The economy just stops.
It's like an engine seizing up. But money is only a representation of value. When faith in it dies, people run to what's real.
Which brings us to kinetic action.
Yeah.
Money is fake. Resources are real. That is the lesson of January 2026.
Just look at the prices. Gold. It's touched $5,000 an ounce. That's a 78% increase year over year.
And silver.
Nearing $100 an ounce. Up 225%.
And do not call this inflation. This is rebasing. This is the global south, its central banks, especially China, dumping dollars and buying physical assets.
They're exiting the system.
They're looking at the U.S. debt, the political chaos, and they're saying, we'll take the metal, thank you.
And while the West is busy arguing about interest rates, the East is making moves on the actual physical materials we need. We have confirmation that China has enacted a de facto ban on rare earth exports to Japan.
This is the most underreported story of the week. This is an act of war in everything but name.
The trigger was apparently the Japanese Prime Minister's remarks on Taiwan. Takaichi called a potential attack an existential threat.
And Beijing's response was not a diplomatic note, it was a light switch. They just turned it off.
Japan relies on China for 72% of its rare earths. For magnets used in EVs, it's 91%.
So what does that mean in real terms? It means Toyota, Honda, the entire Japanese industrial base, they face production halts within weeks.
Not months, weeks.
It is an economic scorched earth policy. They are weaponizing the periodic table to demonstrate that they can shut down the Japanese economy anytime they want.
Interestingly, reports also suggest they've paused similar restrictions on the U.S. for now.
It's classic divide and conquer. Strangle Japan to show the cost of loyalty to the West, but keep the door open just enough for the U.S. to hesitate. It's brilliant, and it's terrifying.
So, economic rot at home, resource warfare abroad, this creates a vacuum.
And something new is rushing in to fill it.
We have to talk about the Board of Peace.
This is the formal, signed and delivered end of the post-World War II order. The United Nations is obsolete as of this week.
It happened at Davos. President Trump launched it. It's a new multilateral framework, but the structure is unique.
Let's be blunt. It's a club with a $1 billion entry fee to be a voting member.
So peace is now a subscription service.
If you have the capital, you get a vote. If you don't, you're subject. And look at the members.
The list is telling. Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Turkey, Israel.
And who is missing? France, Germany, the UK, Japan. The old G7 is fractured, irrelevant.
It's a complete shift from peace as a public good to a club good.
And we are seeing the ruthlessness of this new model play out right now.
In Gaza and Ukraine.
Jared Kushner is pushing his plan to turn Gaza into a high-end real estate zone. They're calling it New Gaza.
It sounds insane.
It sounds insane until you realize that in this new order, capital investment trumps sovereignty. Every time.
And there are these reports of secret talks in Abu Dhabi, Trump envoys, and Russian GRU.
Discussing a Gaza model for Ukraine. Land for investment.
The deal being whispered is, Russia keeps what it's taken. The West stops funding the war.
And in exchange, international capital, managed by this new board, comes in to rebuild what's left. They turn Ukraine into an investment zone, not a democracy.
This is all happening while Kyiv is literally freezing. It's minus 20 Celsius. The parliament building has no power.
That's the leverage. Russia is freezing them into accepting the deal. And the Old West. They're powerless. They can't afford the war, and they weren't invited to the club.
So let's bring this down to the listener, because right now you might be thinking, this is fascinating, but I live in the suburbs.
And that is the critical mistake. You are watching this like it's a movie. You think this is just news about someplace else.
But the Board of Peace proves that international law is dead. Only capital matters. If you don't have $1 billion,
you don't have a voice. You're just scenery.
The World Economic Forum put out a report on something called the cyber poverty line. That phrase really stuck out.
It's crucial. The report says AI-driven fraud is replacing ransomware. The threat isn't just someone locking your computer anymore.
It's someone using AI to fake your voice, your face, your bank credentials perfectly.
The cyber poverty line is the point where if you can't afford enterprise-grade AI-driven defense for your personal life, you're defenseless. You can't trust your bank balance. You can't trust a phone call from your own mother.
We're entering an era of absolute zero trust.
And this brings us to the final point, the assassin's blade.
You mean Iran?
Look at Iran. 5,000 dead in protest, a total internet blackout. The regime is slaughtering its own people. The U.S. sent an armada to pressure them, but what happened?
South Africa. They were supposed to host naval drills with Iran. The U.S. pressured them to cancel. They buckled. Then the military seemed to disobey. Then they canceled again. It was chaos.
It's not just chaos. It's the total failure of alliances. The point is, for the people on the ground in Iran or in Kyiv or even for the employees at Saks, the institutions failed them. The treaties didn't save them. The police didn't protect them.
So, what does this mean for the person listening right now?
It means the era of outsourcing your survival is over. We have lived for 80 years in a bubble. A bubble where we believed that if things got really bad, somebody would step in.
The government, the Fed, the UN.
The police would come. The money would print. Someone would show up.
And now?
Sachs thought the banks would save them. The banks thought the Fed would save them. Ukraine thought the West would save them. No one is coming.
That is a chilling thought. No one is coming.
It is the only thought that matters now. When the grid fails, like in Kiev, or when the credit stops, like it will without rate cap, the only government left is you. You are the central bank of your home. You are the defense minister of your family.
It sounds like you're telling people to prepare for a collapse.
The collapse isn't some event in the future. We're in it. The structure has already ruptured. The price of gold tells you. The bankruptcies tell you. So the question is no longer, what will they do to fix it?
The question is, what will I do?
Are you a victim waiting to happen? Or are you a warlord of your own life? Because the space between those two things is getting wider by the second.
The vacuum is here.
Interpret the silence accordingly.
This has been Neural Pulse. Clarity in a complex world. Decide your move.